Rain hit the street in hard, slanted lines. Neon signs blinked through the water like tired eyes. Cars hissed past puddles. People in cheap ponchos pushed toward a big lighted stage that said, "Vort" in giant letters. And then the air tore. It did not look like a magic portal from a fairy tale. It looked like the sky itself got cut. A thin, bright crack opened above an alley. Wind sucked in, sharp and cold, like a door to a freezer. T'Challa fell through it. He did not scream. He did not flail. He twisted his body in midair, like he had practiced falling 1,000 times. He hit the ground in a crouch. The impact made a low thump, but the sound did not echo like it should. His suit caught it. His boots held firm. His eyes moved fast behind the mask. The alley was narrow. Trash bins, a fire escape, brick walls wet with rain. Far away, music boomed from the Vought stage. People cheered like they were watching a parade. T'Challa lifted one hand. A tiny blue light blinked at his wrist. The suit's systems woke up fully. Quiet. Clean. No Wakandan skyline, no palace, no familiar air. His chest tightened. Just once. He pushed it down. He was a king. A king did not freeze. A king acted. He tapped a small bead at his collar. It projected a thin, see-through map in front of his eyes, built from quick scans. The city grid came in like a sketch. No satellites he recognized. No secure Wakandan channels. He tried a call anyway. A coded signal that should have reached home in seconds. Shuri, Okoye, the Dora Milaje, anyone. Nothing answered. Only static. T'Challa stood and listened. A woman screamed somewhere nearby. His head turned. His body moved before his thoughts finished. Then he ran out of the alley, not into the bright main street, but along the shadows. He moved close to walls, under signs, behind a parked truck. He was a black shape in a black suit in a dark city. People did not see him until he wanted them to. Around the corner, 2 men had a woman pinned against a wall. One held a phone up, laughing, recording. The other grabbed her wrist hard, twisting her arm. "Come on," the one with the phone said. "Smile. This is content." The woman's face was wet with rain and fear. She tried to yank away, but she was small, and the man was heavy. T'Challa did not roar. He did not announce himself. He appeared behind the man with the phone like the night itself had taken a step forward. A gloved hand closed over the man's wrist. The phone froze in place. The man looked down, confused, like his arm had hit a wall. Then T'Challa turned the wrist gently, in a clean, controlled way. The phone dropped. It hit the pavement and slid through water. The man yelped. Not because his arm broke, it didn't, because he suddenly felt powerless. The other man swung a fist. T'Challa moved his head an inch. The punch cut through air. T'Challa's elbow touched the man's ribs once, just once, and the man's breath left him in a sharp cough. He fell to his knees, holding his side. T'Challa stepped between them and the woman. His body was a shield. The woman stared up at him. Black suit, cat-like mask, silver teeth, eyes that looked calm, not wild. You're one of them," she whispered, meaning a soup. T'Challa tilted his head. He did not answer that. He reached down, picked up her dropped bag, and held it out. "Go," he said. His voice was low and steady, not angry, or not friendly, certain. She grabbed the bag and ran. The man on his knees spit onto the wet ground. "Who the hell are you?" T'Challa looked at both men. He could have ended them. He could have crushed bones. He didn't. He tapped his bead again. A soft pulse hit the men's phones on the ground. The screens went black. Their videos died with them. The man with the hurt wrist blinked. "Hey, that's my—" T'Challa's claw slid out with a small, sharp sound. It did not slash skin. It cut the strap of the man's belt clean in half. The man's pants dropped just enough to embarrass him. T'Challa turned and vanished into the rain before either man could think of a smart response. Across the street, a security guard had seen the whole thing. His eyes were wide, not because he saw a hero, because he saw someone acting like a hero without asking permission. The guard lifted his radio. Vought security. We got a situation. There's a guy in a cat suit. As if the city itself could not hold the idea, sirens began to rise in the distance. On the big stage nearby, a smiling vote host kept talking into a microphone. "And remember, folks," she chirped, "only VOT-certified heroes can keep you safe." Behind her, on huge screens, polished images of the Seven flashed like gods. T'Challa watched from the edge of a rooftop, rain dripping off his suit. He looked down at the crowd, at the cameras, at the way people lifted phones instead of helping each other. He understood war. He understood politics. He understood pride. But this felt different. This felt like a world that had been trained to clap while it was being hurt. A drone buzzed up beside the roof, searching. A small camera eye turned. T'Challa looked at it, still as stone. The drone moved closer. A voice crackled from its speaker. "Unidentified individual, you are trespassing on VOT property. Please remain calm. A hero will arrive to assist you." T'Challa stepped forward. He did not jump at the drone. He did not swat it. He simply raised his hand and caught it. The drone's little propellers whined, useless, as if trapped in a giant fist. T'Challa's claws clicked out. He sliced the drone in half with one quick motion. Metal pieces fell and clattered down a vent shaft. Then he turned his head toward a new sound. A deep, sharp boom, not thunder. A sonic boom from something moving too fast. High above the stage, a figure dropped from the sky like a bullet wearing a cape. Blonde hair, perfect smile, red, white, and blue suit like a flag. Homelander hovered over the crowd, soaking up the cheers like oxygen. T'Challa's mask hid his face, but his eyes narrowed. Homelander's eyes scanned, not for danger, but for attention. Then they paused. They found the rooftop. They found the black shape in the rain. Homelander's smile widened in a way that did not feel warm. It felt like a threat that learned how to grin. T'Challa stayed still. Homelander tilted his head as if he had just spotted a new toy. Down below, the host laughed nervously. "Oh, wow! And it looks like Homelander himself is here tonight. Everyone give it up!" the crowd screamed. T'Challa's bead blinked. It gathered data. Heat, sound, air pressure. It told him the truth his eyes already knew. That man in the sky was not a normal soldier. That man was a problem. Homelander drifted closer to the rooftop, slow, like he wanted to enjoy every second. T'Challa took one step back into the shadow. Not fear. Position. A king chose the ground he fought on, and in this world, the ground itself looked owned. Huey Campbell watched the clip 3 times before he realized he was holding his breath. The video was shaky. It was clearly stolen off someone's phone before it got wiped. The audio was mostly rain and shouting, but the picture was enough. A tall man in a black suit, a cat mask, movements like a dancer who also knew how to break you in half. He stopped an assault. He didn't pose. He didn't talk for the camera. He just did the job and left. Huey swallowed. He saved her. Across the table, Billy Butcher leaned back with his boots up, chewing nothing, eyes sharp. Or it's a show. Vought does shows, mate. That's their whole thing. Mother's Milk, M&M, stood by a whiteboard with notes and messy arrows. The cut on that belt strap was too clean. That's real blades. And look at the way he moved. He knows what he's doing. Frenchie bounced his leg, restless. It is not vote style. No smile, no catchphrase, no wave to the children. Kimiko sat silently in the corner, watching. Her eyes didn't blink much. When the black-suited man appeared behind the attacker, something in her face shifted. Not soft. More like recognition. Starlight, Annie, stood with her arms crossed. She looked tired, like someone who had been disappointed too many times, but she still stared at the clip like it mattered. "That's not a Vought suit," she said. "No, not anything I've ever seen." Butcher snorted. "New line, then. New brand. Catman saves women or some shite." Huey glanced at Butcher. Why would they make him stop a crime off stage? That doesn't get them paid. Butcher leaned forward. "Because it gets them trust. You see a hero help without cameras, you think, oh, they're real. Then you buy the cereal." MM pointed at the screen. "Except he turned the cameras off. That's the opposite of Vought." The room went quiet. Huey felt it in his stomach. The problem wasn't just that a new soup was out there. The problem was that this one didn't act like the others. That meant two things. One, he might actually be good. Two, Vought would hate him. Frenchie grinned suddenly. "Perhaps," he said. "We found a unicorn." Butcher's eyes went cold. "Or we found a lion. And lions eat people too." MM looked at Butcher hard. "We don't shoot first this time." Butcher's mouth twitched, half smile, half warning. "We'll see." Annie stepped closer to the screen. She paused it on the moment the masked man handed the woman her bag. "He didn't even ask her name," she said softly. "He just helped." Huey nodded. We should talk to him." Butcher laughed once. "Yeah. You gonna walk up with a cup of tea and say, 'Hello, mysterious murder cat. Fancy joining our war?'" Huey's ears turned red. "He didn't murder anyone." "Yet," Butcher said. MM raised a hand. "Enough. We do this smart. We get more info. We don't blow this." Frenchie raised his eyebrows. "And how do we get more info?" MM drew a circle on the board and wrote one word inside it. Vought. "They'll try to control him," MM said. "Why, that's how we find him." Across the city, in a building that smelled like money and disinfectant, a room full of executives watched the same footage. But they did not look worried the way Huey did. They looked hungry. A woman with sharp eyes and a tablet scrolled through frames. "Suit is not ours. The material is unknown. The movement style, trained, military level. Maybe more." A man in a suit that cost more than a house folded his hands. "How many cameras did he disable?" "4 confirmed," the woman said. "Possibly more. He wiped phones too." An older man with calm eyes, sitting like a king without a crown, spoke in a low voice. "He understands surveillance," he said. "That is inconvenient." Someone else asked the question everyone was thinking. "Can we buy him?" The calm man did not smile. "Everything has a price," he said. "Sometimes the price is fear." A door opened. A guard leaned in, nervous. "Homelander wants to know if he can handle it publicly." The calm man nodded once. "Tell him yes," he said. "But tell him this is not about winning a fight. It is about owning the story." The woman with the tablet zoomed in on the mask's eyes. "He doesn't look scared," she murmured. The calm man's fingers tapped the table once. "Then we teach him what this world does to people who don't play." T'Challa moved through the city like water in cracks. He stayed off main roads. He used rooftops. He listened more than he spoke. He watched what people watched. He saw billboards with heroes smiling above burning buildings. He saw ads that promised safety if you bought the right phone plan. He saw a street preacher shout about sin while a hero took selfies behind him. In a quiet corner under an overpass, he found an old man shaking in the cold. The man held a cardboard sign. T'Challa crouched, not too close. His mask came down a fraction, not enough to show his face, just enough so his voice could be softer. "Are you injured?" T'Challa asked. The man blinked up. "You a hero?" he rasped. T'Challa did not answer the label. He checked the man's hands. They were cracked. Not bleeding, just cold. T'Challa pulled a small heat patch from his belt. Wakandan tech meant for soldiers in harsh climates. He pressed it into the man's palm. The patch warmed. The old man's eyes went wide. "What the—" "Hold it," T'Challa said. "It will help." The man stared. "Why are you doing this?" T'Challa paused. The simplest answer was also the truest. "Because you need help," he said. A police car rolled by, slow. The officers looked at T'Challa, then away fast, like they didn't want a problem. The city's fear was trained. T'Challa watched them go. His jaw clenched under the mask. A hero system that made cops look away from suffering was not a hero system. It was a cage. His bead blinked again. It picked up a pattern. Drones sweeping in grids. Vought security vans. News vans hunting for exclusive footage. They were searching for him like he was an escaped animal. He started thinking like a king at war. Who controls food? Who controls water? Who controls the news? Who controls fear? In Wakanda, the people trusted their protectors. Here, the people trusted a logo. He needed a base, not a palace, a nest, a place to watch from. He chose an old construction site with a half-built tower, abandoned and hidden behind scaffolding. High ground, many exits, some few cameras. He moved inside, quiet. He placed small beads at corners, creating a net of sensors. Then he sat in the dark and tried home again. Still nothing. For the first time, his breath sounded loud in the mask. He let himself feel it for one heartbeat. Lonely. Then he stood. Duty did not wait for comfort. A bead projected a list of nearby signals, radios, phones, police scanners. One phrase repeated on many channels. Unlicensed Supa. T'Challa tilted his head. Unlicensed. So even power needed paperwork here. He almost laughed. Almost. Instead, he listened deeper. And he heard something else. A whisper on a private channel. Not police. Not Vought. Small. Hidden. People who didn't speak like they were paid. A voice said, "We've got eyes. Cat guys in the city. Move." Another voice answered, rough and British. "Don't spook him, you muppet. Watch first." T'Challa's eyes narrowed. Not everyone here was asleep. Good. Huey hated stakeouts. He hated the cold. He hated the waiting. He hated the way Butcher acted like patience was a weakness when it was really just boring. They sat in a van 2 blocks from a Vought community safety event that had popped up overnight like a trap covered in candy. Big signs, smiling faces, free hot dogs, cameras everywhere. A small stage with a banner that read, "Honor our heroes." Huey watched kids in raincoats line up to get photos with a minor soup who could shoot sparks from his hands. The sparks looked harmless and pretty. It made Huey's stomach turn. M.M. watched through binoculars. Too many cameras, he muttered. Frenchie played with a device in his lap, humming. I jammed some signals if needed. Annie stood outside the van, a hood up, eyes on the rooftops. She looked like she was pretending to be invisible, which was funny because she was literally famous. Butcher leaned forward and grinned like he was about to start a bar fight. "He'll come," he said. "They're putting the bait right out in the open." Huey whispered, "What if he doesn't? What if he's smart?" Butcher glanced at him. "Then he'll still come, because he can't help himself. You saw the clip. He's got that save people disease." Huey flinched. Butcher said it like it was a sickness. M.M. lowered the binoculars. "Movement," he said. On a far roof, a shadow shifted. Not a cape, not a flying figure. Something low and fast. Huey's heart kicked. The black-suited man crouched at the roof edge, watching the event. He did not rush. He studied. He looked like someone measuring a battlefield. Annie took a slow step forward, hands visible. Huey held his breath, as if that could stop the world from noticing her. Annie called softly, "Hey, we're not Vought." The masked man turned his head toward her. Just that small movement made Huey's skin prickle. It was too controlled, too ready. But the man did not attack. He waited. Annie lifted her chin. "You've been helping people," she said. "That's rare here. If Vought gets to you first, they'll try to own you, or they'll try to kill you." The man's voice came from behind the mask, calm. "Why are you here?" he asked. Annie glanced back at Huey in the van, then back to the masked man. "Because we fight them," she said. "We're complicated, but we're not with them." The man looked past her to the crowd. A Vought camera drone rose, slowly, like a shark fin in water. He saw it. Of course he saw it. He shifted, and suddenly he was not at the roof edge anymore. He was moving along the rooftop line, staying just out of sight. Annie's eyes widened. "Wait!" Butcher stepped out of the van before MM could stop him. "Oi!" Butcher shouted up, loud, like he wanted the whole block to hear. "You in the cat suit? You want to actually do some good? Stop running!" Huey mouthed. "Oh my God." The masked man paused. Not because Butcher impressed him, because Butcher made a choice. He chose to be seen. T'Challa looked down at the man. Rough coat, scarred face, anger like a fire that never went out. T'Challa could smell it from here, not literally, but he could see it in posture and eyes. This man would burn the world if it meant winning. T'Challa dropped from the roof. He landed behind the van with almost no sound. Huey yelped. Loud and embarrassing. Kimiko's head snapped up. She smiled a tiny, sharp smile. T'Challa did not move toward them. He stood at a careful distance. His hands were open. MM stepped out slowly, palms up. "We're not here to fight you," he said. "We want to talk." Butcher scoffed. "Speak for yourself." T'Challa looked at each of them in turn. One looked nervous, but sincere, Huey. One looked like a real soldier trying to keep control, MM. One looked like she still believed in something, Annie. One looked like a bomb with legs, Butcher. One looked silent and wounded and dangerous, Kimiko. One looked like chaos with a smile, Frenchie. T'Challa's voice stayed even. "Talk," he said. Huey swallowed. Hi. I'm Huey." Butcher rolled his eyes. "Don't tell him your bloody name." Huey shot him a look. He's not going to steal my credit card, Butcher." Frenchie perked up. "Oh, credit card." "Yes. In this city, everything is payment." T'Challa's head tilted. "Credit card?" he repeated, as if the idea that saving people required money was still strange to him. Butcher pointed at the suit. "What are you then? Vought? Some foreign black ops soup? CIA? MI6? A bloody cosplay?" T'Challa did not react to the insults. He reacted to the question inside the question. "Names matter here," he said, "but you use them like chains." MIM took a slow breath. "We don't know who you are," he said. "That's true. But we know what Vought is. And we saw you stop a crime. That's not their style." T'Challa's gaze flicked to Annie. "You were on their screens," he said. "Yet you speak against them." Annie's mouth tightened. "Yeah," she said. "So it's complicated." T'Challa turned back to MM. "What do you want from me?" he asked. Butcher answered first. "I want you to put that blonde ponce in the ground," Huey hissed. "Butcher." T'Challa's voice cooled a fraction. "And who is the blonde?" he asked. Annie said quietly, "Homelander." T'Challa held the name in his mind. He remembered the sky figure, the smile, the way the crowd screamed like worship. He asked one simple question. "Is he your protector?" he said. No one answered right away. That told him everything. Spoke carefully. "He's a problem," he said. "The biggest." T'Challa nodded once. "Then your world is upside down," he said. Frenchie smiled, almost sad. "Oui." T'Challa looked back toward the event. More drones, more cameras, more Vought vans arriving like ants. "They are hunting me," T'Challa said. Butcher spread his hands. "Welcome to the club." T'Challa's bead blinked. It picked up a new signal, a high-powered broadcast wave. Vought was about to speak. Huge screens at the event flickered. A news anchor appeared, smile sharp as glass. "Breaking news," she said brightly. "A dangerous, unlicensed soup has been spotted in the city. Witnesses report violent attacks and sabotage of public safety drones. Vought reminds all citizens, do not engage. Heroes are on the way." Huey stared at the screen. "They're calling him dangerous?" Butcher laughed. "They call anyone dangerous if they don't sign the contract." Annie clenched her fists. "We need to get you out of here," she told T'Challa. "Now." T'Challa looked at the crowd. He saw a mother holding a child's hand near the stage. He saw Vought security pushing people back. He saw how easy it would be for panic to turn into a stampede. "I will not run through them," he said. Nodded. "Good," he said, "because we won't either." Butcher groaned. "Oh, for f—" A loud crack cut the air. A man near the food stand dropped to the ground. Blood spread on his shirt. People screamed. Another crack. Another body fell. Huey's eyes went wide. "Sniper!" Panic surged like a wave. Vought security shouted, "Get down! Stay calm!" But their voices were too late. People ran. The crowd crushed in on itself. T'Challa moved. He shot forward, faster than Huey thought a man in a suit could move. He leaped onto a metal railing, then onto a kiosk roof, then down into the crowd without touching anyone. He grabbed a falling child by the hood and lifted him up, placing him onto a safer ledge, like he weighed nothing. He spoke in a loud, clear voice. "Move to the sides," he commanded. "Not forward, not back. To the sides. Make space." Some people listened, not because they trusted him, because his voice sounded like someone who knew what he was doing. Another shot cracked. T'Challa's suit flared with a purple ripple as a bullet hit him. The impact would have ripped through a normal body. T'Challa barely moved. He turned his head, locked onto the direction, and launched himself up, straight toward the building line. Huey stared. "He got shot!" Grabbed Huey's shoulder. "He's fine," said. "He's going after the shooter." Annie ran toward the crowd to help push people into cover. Kimiko darted like a knife into the chaos, pulling trapped civilians free. Frenchie shouted in a language Huey didn't know, but his hands were already building something. Butcher watched T'Challa leap and muttered, almost impressed. "All right then." T'Challa hit the side of a building and ran up it, using small grips and the suit's strength. He reached a fire escape, grabbed it, swung, and flung himself onto a rooftop. The sniper was there, masked, rifle in hand, already moving to a second position. T'Challa did not chase like a man chasing a man. He cut the angles like a predator. He appeared in front of the sniper. The sniper tried to lift the rifle. T'Challa slapped it aside, then drove a knee into the sniper's stomach. The sniper folded, gasping. T'Challa pinned him with one hand. He could feel something off. The sniper was too calm, too ready, too trained. T'Challa looked down and saw a tiny earpiece. Corporate grade, not cheap. A trap. T'Challa ripped the earpiece out and held it up. "Who sent you?" he demanded. The sniper coughed, then smiled through pain. And then the man bit down. His jaw twitched. Foam formed at the corner of his mouth. Poison. T'Challa's eyes widened. He tried to stop it, but it was already done. The sniper's body went slack. T'Challa stared at the dead man. This world did not just kill enemies. It killed its own pieces to keep secrets. T'Challa stood, rain on his shoulders, anger rising like heat. Below, the crowd screamed again. A new shadow fell over the street. A sonic boom rattled windows. Homelander dropped into view like the sky was his front door. He hovered above the chaos, eyes glowing faint red. Then his voice boomed across the street, smooth and loud. "Everyone stay calm," he said, smiling. "Well, I'm here now." The crowd cheered through tears. Some people sobbed in relief like he was a savior. T'Challa watched from the roof edge. Homelander's eyes scanned the rooftops. They landed on T'Challa. Homelander's smile stayed, but his eyes hardened. T'Challa's bead flashed a warning. Heat spike. Threat level extreme. Homelander lifted one hand and pointed down the street, as if directing a show. "Unlicensed soup," Homelander called out, voice still friendly. "Come on out, buddy. Let's talk." T'Challa did not move. Homelander's smile twitched. "No?" he said, still loud enough for cameras. "Okay. Then I guess I have to do this the hard way." He drifted lower, and his heat vision flickered. Not at T'Challa. At a bus full of civilians trying to escape. The beam cut across the road in front of the bus, melting the asphalt like butter. The driver slammed the brakes. People screamed inside. Homelander looked up at T'Challa and shrugged, like it was a joke. "Oops," he said. T'Challa's fists clenched. He understood the language now. This was not a hero asking for peace. This was a tyrant using hostages. T'Challa stepped off the roof. He did not fall. He sprang, landing on a signpost, then onto the bus roof, then into the street between the bus and Homelander. People gasped. Cameras swung. Phones rose. Homelander's smile widened. "There he is," he said. "Sweet as poison. You see, folks, I told you I'd keep you safe." T'Challa looked up at him, silent. Homelander tilted his head. "You don't talk much," he said. "That's okay. I'll do the talking." The air shifted. Homelander shot forward. The speed was shocking. Not just fast, instant. He hit T'Challa like a truck dropped from the sky. T'Challa flew back, smashing through a parked car. Metal shrieked. Glass burst. People screamed. T'Challa rolled, caught himself, and stood in one smooth motion. His suit rippled with stored energy. The car's force had been absorbed. Homelander hovered again, looking pleased. "Ah," he said, loud for the cameras. "You're tougher than you look." T'Challa's claws slid out with a crisp sound. He did not rush in like an angry fool. He looked around. He saw the crowd, trapped and watching. He saw Annie pulling people behind a concrete barrier. He saw Huey's pale face behind a car door. He saw Butcher, grinning like this was Christmas. T'Challa took one step to the side, drawing Homelander away from the bus. Homelander laughed. "Oh, you're doing the hero thing," he said. "Cute." He lunged again. T'Challa moved under him fast and low and raked a claw across Homelander's suit. The fabric split. Not deep, not blood, but enough to make a point. Homelander froze midair for half a second. His smile died. The crowd went silent. Nobody cut Homelander. Nobody touched him. Homelander slowly turned his head down to the torn cloth. Then he looked at T'Challa like he was looking at a bug that just learned to speak. "You did that," Homelander said softly. T'Challa's voice came out steady. "You threaten civilians," he said. "You call yourself a protector." Homelander's eyes flared red. "Watch your mouth," he whispered. Then he snapped his head toward the crowd and smiled again, like flipping a switch. "Hey," he called. "Everyone, back up! This guy is dangerous!" The crowd stumbled back, confused, scared, loyal, all at once. Homelander's heat vision flashed again, this time slicing the street near T'Challa's feet, forcing him to jump. The beam wasn't meant to kill. It was meant to herd, to put T'Challa where Homelander wanted him. T'Challa felt it. He adjusted. He kicked up a chunk of broken pavement and threw it. Homelander barely moved. The chunk shattered against his chest. He didn't even blink. Homelander shot forward again, grabbed T'Challa by the throat, and lifted him like he weighed nothing. T'Challa's boots dangled inches above the ground. Homelander leaned in, voice low now, not for cameras. "You don't get to show me up in my city," he hissed. "You don't get to be whatever you are." T'Challa's hands gripped Homelander's wrist. He could not peel it off by strength alone. He knew that in 1 second. So he used what he had. He triggered the suit's stored kinetic energy. A purple pulse blasted outward from his chest like a shockwave. Homelander's grip loosened for a blink. Not because he was hurt badly, but because he was surprised. That blink was all T'Challa needed. T'Challa twisted, dropped, and landed on his feet. He slid backward, claws ready. Homelander floated, eyes wide with fresh anger. "Oh," Homelander said, voice tight. "So you've got tricks." Behind a car, Huey whispered. "He actually made him let go." Butcher grinned. "Yeah," he breathed. "Now we're talking." MM grabbed Butcher's sleeve. "No," he warned. "Not here. Too many civilians." Butcher's eyes stayed locked on Homelander. "It's never going to be perfect," he said. "That's the whole bloody point." Annie looked at T'Challa, then at Homelander, then at the terrified crowd. Her face tightened with decision. She stepped out, hands glowing. "Homelander," she shouted. "Stop." Homelander didn't even look at her. "Not now, Annie," he said, like she was a fly. T'Challa saw the problem clearly. Homelander could keep doing this all day. He didn't tire. He didn't care about damage. And every second on camera helped him. Even if he was the villain, the world would still clap. T'Challa needed to end this in the only way that mattered here. Not by winning a fistfight. By saving people and leaving Homelander with no clean victory. He tapped his bead. Small devices he had placed earlier around the area woke up. They weren't bombs. They weren't deadly. They were sound and light tools meant for battlefield control. A deep, low pulse rolled across the street. It rattled teeth and made cameras glitch. Drones wobbled in the air. Vaught's big screens flickered. Homelander's head snapped toward the nearest screen, annoyed. T'Challa used the moment to sprint toward the crowd line. He didn't run away from Homelander. He ran toward the people. He grabbed a bent metal barrier and lifted it like it was a chair. He slammed it down sideways, creating a shield wall between panicking civilians and open street. "Move behind this," he ordered. Voice loud, but controlled. "Stay low. Cover your head." Some listened. Some froze. Kimiko darted in, pulling the frozen ones by the arm. Annie blasted a streetlight pole down to block a side lane. MM shouted directions like a coach, keeping people from trampling each other. Huey found himself yelling too, surprising even himself. "This way! This way! No, not there! There!" Frenchie popped up behind a car and threw a small device into the air. It burst into thick smoke, gray and heavy. The street vanished into a fog wall. Homelander hovered above it, furious. His heat vision cut through the smoke, slicing it. But smoke was not a person. It didn't scream. It didn't bleed. It just kept spreading. Homelander shouted, loud for the cameras that still worked. "He's hiding! Coward!" But the crowd below didn't see a coward. They saw someone building a shield for strangers. T'Challa moved in the smoke like it was home. He could see through it with his suit. He reached the bus and tapped the door. It popped open. "Out," he said to the driver. "Now." The driver's hands shook. Who are you?" T'Challa didn't answer the name. He answered the need. "Someone who won't let you die," he said. People poured out. Annie guided them. Kimiko carried a crying kid like the kid weighed nothing. Huey helped an older woman step over rubble. MM pulled a man away from a burning car. Butcher stood back, eyes darting, judging every angle like he was trying to find the moment to strike. And then, through the smoke, Homelander dropped. He didn't crash down this time. He landed with control, like a god stepping onto a stage. His eyes glowed brighter. Heat built. T'Challa felt it through his suit sensors. Homelander was about to do something that would kill a lot of people just to prove a point. T'Challa stepped forward, placing himself between Homelander and the crowd. Homelander's smile came back, thin and sharp. "Move," he said quietly. T'Challa did not move. Homelander leaned in. "You know what I love?" he whispered. "I love when people act brave. Because then, I get to show them what brave buys." T'Challa's voice stayed level. "Your strength is wasted on fear," he said. Homelander blinked. For half a second, the words hit somewhere deeper than ego. Then, Homelander's face hardened again, like he hated that it almost mattered. "Wrong answer," he said. His heat vision fired. T'Challa crossed his arms and braced. The beam hit his suit. The vibranium flared with purple light, drinking in heat and force. The ground beneath his feet cracked. He slid back inches, boots carving lines in the wet street. The beam kept coming. T'Challa's suit took it, but his system screamed warnings inside his mask. Not because he would melt right away, because Homelander could keep pouring power longer than any normal fight should allow. T'Challa made a decision. He didn't need to win here. He needed to live, protect, and learn. He slammed his claws into the ground and released a controlled kinetic burst downward. The pavement exploded into a ring of debris, enough to break sightlines, enough to force Homelander's beam to scatter, enough to make a wall for 1 second. In that second, T'Challa grabbed a fallen Vote camera drone, crushed it in his hand, and threw the pieces upward into another drone's propellers. 2 drones dropped from the sky like dead birds. The crowd gasped. Homelander's jaw tightened. T'Challa turned and moved with the people, not away from them. He guided them into side streets, behind buildings, into cover. Annie looked at him, eyes wide. "You're not trying to beat him," she realized. T'Challa's voice came quick and firm. "Not like this," he said. "Not here." MM nodded, already understanding. "Evac first," he said. Butcher's face twisted with anger. "We had him mad," he snapped. "That's useful," Huey shouted back. "People are dying, Butcher." Butcher glared at Huey like he wanted to argue, then glanced at the screaming crowd and bit down his words. Homelander rose into the air again, above the smoke, above the street, above the rules. His voice boomed. "Listen up! The unlicensed Supe is fleeing. If you see him, report him. Vought will keep you safe." Then he lowered his voice, just for himself. "And I'm going to find you," he whispered, eyes burning. "I'm going to peel that mask off." T'Challa heard none of that, but he felt the promise in the air. He led the last cluster of civilians into a covered passage. He watched until they were out of sight. Then he turned back once, looking through the smoke at the shape in the sky. Homelander hovered like a warning sign that could smile. T'Challa's claws slid back into his gloves. He did not look scared. He looked focused. This world had a false god, and false gods fell. But not by accident, not by rage, by planning, by truth, and by protecting people, even when it cost you the easy win. T'Challa stepped into the shadows and vanished again, leaving behind broken drones, saved lives, and one torn piece of red, white, and blue cloth that would haunt Vought's boardroom by morning. Morning news in this city did not sound like morning. It sounded like a siren with makeup. On the biggest screen in a crowded diner, a smiling anchor pointed at a frozen frame of the black suit in the rain, A red circle was drawn around the mask like it was a target. "So authorities are warning citizens," she said, voice bright and fast, "about a dangerous, unlicensed soup who attacked vote safety drones and threatened a public event. Vought assures us the 7 are taking action to keep you safe." Behind her, the video played on a loop. It skipped the part where the woman was being attacked. It skipped the part where civilians were saved. It zoomed in on the moment the street cracked under a purple blast. It zoomed in on broken drones falling. A headline ran across the bottom. "Cat Soup Terror. Who is he?" Huey sat in a booth with his hood up, trying not to be noticed. He hated that his stomach still jumped every time the clip showed Homelander. Next to him, Annie stared at the screen like it was punching her in the face again and again. "They're calling him a terrorist," Huey whispered. Annie's jaw tightened. "They call anyone a terrorist if they don't sign the contract." The waitress came by with coffee. She glanced at Annie's face and froze for half a second, like her brain didn't know what to do with a celebrity in a dirty diner. Annie gave her a small, tired smile. "Hey." The waitress set the mug down too fast, spilling some. "Sorry," she said, nervous. You're, I know," Annie said. She wasn't mean. She just sounded like she had been asked the same question a million times. "Can we just be normal for 1 minute?" The waitress nodded hard and hurried away. Huey watched Annie's hands. They looked steady, but he could tell she was holding anger inside like a closed fist. On the screen, the anchor kept talking. "Vought has also announced a new safety program. All soups operating in the city must be registered and licensed. Citizens are urged to report any suspicious vigilante activity." Huey almost laughed. It came out more like a short breath. "Licensed," he muttered. "They're licensing, saving people." Annie's eyes stayed on the screen. "It's not about safety," she said. "It's about control." Outside the diner, a vote billboard across the street already had a new poster. It showed Homelander smiling, arms open like a savior. Under him, in big, clean letters, "Only Vought protects you." And under that, in smaller letters, "Report unlicensed soups." Huey's phone buzzed. Texting. "Back now. We need to move. Vought is sweeping the city." Huey typed back with shaking thumbs. "Where's the Panther guy?" A pause. Then, "Not sure, but he's not stupid. He'll find us if he wants to." Huey looked up. "What if he doesn't trust us?" he asked. Annie finally looked away from the screen. Her eyes were tired, but there was still something bright behind them. "Then we earn it," she said. In a sleek office high above the city, Sister Sage watched the same loop, but her face did not change once. She wasn't watching the fight. She was watching the choices. She paused the video on the moment the masked man stepped between the bus and Homelander. She zoomed in on his posture, his feet, the angle of his shoulders, where his head turned first. "Interesting," she said to herself. A vote aide stood nearby with a tablet and a nervous smile. "We've got teams searching, thermal drones, facial recognition on everyone near the incident." Sage didn't look at him. "Facial recognition," she repeated, calm. On a man wearing a mask." The aide swallowed. "We're also tracking suit material. The tear in Homelander's uniform is being analyzed." Sage held up one finger. "Stop." The aide froze. Sage leaned back slightly. "This isn't just an unlicensed soup," she said. "He's disciplined. He used smoke. He cut sight lines. He built cover. He protected strangers even when it cost him." The aide nodded too fast. "Yes, ma'am." Sage's eyes narrowed. "That means he has a code," she said. "And codes can be attacked." A second aide entered, holding a folder. "We have a draft for the new licensing law," she said. "Also a waiver form." Sage took the folder and flipped it open. The pages were thick, full of clean legal language. She read fast. "Good," Sage said. "Make the waiver impossible to understand. Make the license expensive. Now make the punishment for breaking it public." The aide hesitated. "Public how?" Sage's voice stayed smooth. "Humiliation," she said. "Fear. A story that says, if you help without permission, you hurt people." She looked back at the paused image of the Panther. "And get me a capture plan," she added. "Not a kill plan. I want his suit." The aide blinked. "His suit?" Sage smiled faintly, like someone seeing a rare machine. "That suit took Homelander's heat vision and lived," she said. "You don't throw that away." Homelander paced in a private room that looked like a perfect living room but felt like a cage. The walls were too clean. The art was too bland. Nothing here belonged to him, even though everything said it did. Avant Tech tried to adjust a camera on a shelf. Homelander stared at him until the tech's hands shook. "Out," Homelander said. The tech left fast. Homelander walked to a mirror. He stared at his own face, like he was checking if the world had changed it. He touched the spot on his uniform, where the black claw had cut fabric. No blood. Just a tear. It shouldn't matter. It did. His jaw clenched. There was a knock. A voice from the other side. "Homelander? Stan wants a word." Homelander didn't answer. The door opened anyway. Stan Edgar stepped in like he owned the air. His face was calm, his eyes steady. He never looked impressed, and that made Homelander angry every time. Stan glanced at the torn uniform. "You let him damage the brand," Stan said, not raising his voice. Homelander's smile appeared, fake and sharp. "I didn't let him do anything." Stan stepped closer. "You did," he said. "You chose to make it a show. You chose to threaten civilians. You chose to chase him instead of ending it quietly." Homelander's eyes glowed faintly. "Are you telling me what I chose?" Stan didn't flinch. "I'm telling you what happened," he said. Homelander leaned in, voice low. "I can end him," he said. "I can rip him apart." Stan's eyes stayed cool. "Maybe," he said. "But can you stop him from becoming a symbol?" Homelander paused. Stan continued. "He saved people on camera. He stood up to you. If you kill him in public, you might make him bigger." Homelander's nostrils flared. "He's nobody," he hissed. Stan's voice stayed flat. "Then treat him like nobody," he said. "Let Sage work. Let the law do the cage work. Let the cameras do the murder for you." Homelander's smile twisted. He hated that it made sense. Stan turned to leave. "And Homelander?" he added without looking back. "If you lose control again, you don't just embarrass yourself. You embarrass all of us." The door clicked shut. Homelander stood alone with the mirror and the tear. His reflection smiled, but his eyes did not. T'Challa watched the city from a dark floor of an unfinished tower, looking through a gap in the concrete like it was a window built for war. Below, police cars moved in lines. Vought vans parked at corners. Drones hovered like gnats that could bite. The city was being cleaned, but not of crime. It was being cleaned of disobedience. Behind him, small Wakandan beads clicked softly as they mapped signals and stored patterns. His suit fed him data in quiet lines. Drone routes, camera angles, radio codes. He had learned the enemy's language in one night. He had also learned something worse. This world's heroes were not guardians. They were owners. A noise behind him made him turn fast, claws out. A figure stepped into the shadow, hands up. T'Challa didn't relax, but he didn't attack. Moved slowly, careful. "We tracked your signal net," he said. "You're good, but you left a pattern." T'Challa's eyes narrowed. "You followed me," he said. "We didn't bring guns," said. "Just me." A second figure appeared behind hood up, blonde hair tucked in. Annie. T'Challa's gaze shifted to her. "You came," he said. Annie nodded. "We needed to talk without cameras," she said. "And without Butcher." T'Challa's mouth tightened under the mask. "He's dangerous," he said. Annie let out a small, humorless laugh. "Yeah," she said. "Tell me about it." Stepped closer, still not too close. "Oh, we're being hunted," he said. "You're being hunted. We need to decide if we're enemies or not." T'Challa looked at them for a long moment. Then he turned and walked deeper into the unfinished floor. He gestured once. "Follow." They did. Inside, T'Challa had built a clean little space in the concrete shell. Not comfortable, not cozy, but organized. Beads at corners, a small medical kit, a water bottle, a map projected on a broken wall. Annie's eyes widened. "You did all this overnight?" T'Challa didn't answer the praise. He pointed at the map. "This city is watched," he said. "Your enemy controls the sky." Nodded. "That's Vought," he said. T'Challa turned to them. "You fight them," he said. "Why?" Annie's voice came out sharp. "Because they hurt people," she said. "They lie. They kill. They ruin lives. And they call it protection." Added, "Because if we don't fight, nobody will." T'Challa studied them. He heard truth in their voices. Not perfect truth, but real. He walked to the edge of the room, where his mask rested in his hands for half a second. M's eyes flicked to it. Annie held her breath. T'Challa did not remove it yet, but his voice softened, just slightly. "In my world," he said, "we protect our people. We do not sell them hope and call it mercy." Annie stepped forward a fraction. "Then help us," she said. "Not as a weapon. As you." T'Challa's eyes held hers. Then he turned his head toward the city outside. "Your enemy wants my name," he said. "They want my face. They want my story." Said carefully, "We don't need your name." T'Challa looked back at him. "But trust is built on truth," he said. He lifted his hands to the mask, and slowly he took it off. Annie's breath caught. The face beneath was not a Vought model face, not polished, not trying to charm a camera. It was calm, strong, and tired in a way that looked earned. A small scar near the cheek, eyes that had seen duty and loss. He looked like a leader. He looked like a man who carried a country in his bones. "My name is T'Challa," he said. "I am king of Wakanda." Annie blinked. "Wakanda?" she repeated, confused. M's brow furrowed. "That a country?" he asked. T'Challa nodded. "It is," he said. "Or it was. I cannot reach it." Annie's voice softened. "You're not from here," she said. "No," T'Challa replied, "and I believe your heroes are not what they claim." Looked at T'Challa's face, then at the suit, then at the calm way he stood. M's shoulders lowered a tiny bit. "Okay," he said. "Okay. That tracks." Annie swallowed. "What do you want, T'Challa?" she asked. T'Challa looked at the city. "To protect the innocent," he said. "To understand this world, and to stop those who rule by fear." Annie nodded slowly. "Then we're on the same side," she said. A distant helicopter thumped through the air. T'Challa's head turned toward the sound instantly. Exhaled. "We need to move fast," he said. "Vought's sweeping areas. They're hitting shelters. They're grabbing people who saw the fight." T'Challa's eyes narrowed. "They punish witnesses," he said. Annie's voice was bitter. "They erase stories they don't like." T'Challa put the mask back on, but something had changed. It wasn't just armor now, it was a decision. "Then we stop them from taking people quietly," T'Challa said. Looked at him. "We can't save everyone," he warned. T'Challa stared back. "We can try," he said. Butcher did not like being left out. He stood in a different safe house, pacing like a caged animal. He had 2 phones on the table, both stolen. A map of the city was spread out under a knife. Huey watched him, nervous. MM said not to. Yeah, MM says a lot of things, Butcher snapped. Doesn't mean I'm gonna sit on my hands while Captain Catsuit becomes everyone's new bloody hope. Frenchie looked up from a bag of tools. Hope is not so bad, he said. Butcher glared. Hope gets you killed, he said. Hope makes you sloppy. Kimiko sat on the floor, back against the wall, listening. Her eyes flicked to Butcher, then away. Huey took a breath. So he saved those people, Huey said, and he didn't even have to. Butcher leaned in close to Huey. That's what scares me, Butcher said quietly. Because if he's real, if he's actually a good one, you'll all start thinking we can do this clean. Huey swallowed. Why is that bad? Butcher's eyes were hard. Because this world doesn't let you win clean, he said. He grabbed his coat. I'm going hunting, he said. Frenchie raised his hands. Butcher. We don't know him. Butcher smirked. Exactly, he said. And I don't like surprises. Kimiko's hand moved. She caught Butcher's sleeve before he could step away. Her grip was strong. Her eyes said one word without speaking. Stop. Butcher looked down at her hand, then back at her face. His smirk faded for a second. He pulled his sleeve free gently, which was rare for him. I'll be careful, he lied. And he walked out. Huey watched him go, heart heavy. He's gonna ruin it, he whispered. Frenchie sighed. He always tries, he said. Kimiko's gaze stayed on the door. She looked like someone who had seen too many good things break. 2 nights later, T'Challa stood with Annie and MM on a rooftop that overlooked a fenced compound on the edge of the city. Bright lights, cameras, guard towers. Signs that said, Vought Community Care Center in friendly letters. But it didn't look friendly. It looked like a place people didn't leave. Annie's face tightened. That's one of their holding sites, she said. They pick up protesters, witnesses, anyone unsafe. Sometimes they disappear. MM spoke quietly. They call it processing, like people are packages. T'Challa watched the fence line. He counted guards. He tracked patrol patterns. He listened to radio chatter through his beads. He turned his head slightly. How many inside? He asked. MM checked a note. Maybe 80, he said. Families too, Annie whispered. They'll spin this if we hit it. T'Challa's voice was firm. They will spin anything, he said. That cannot stop us. He looked down at the compound again. His mind was already moving, building steps like a staircase. Your people need a sanctuary, he said. A way out. A place to breathe, not just a fight. MM nodded slowly. I've been trying, he admitted. But Vought watches the shelters. They choke resources. They scare landlords. They freeze bank accounts. T'Challa's mask tilted. Money controls you, he said, not as an insult, but as a cold fact. Annie let out a short laugh. Yeah, she said. Welcome to America. T'Challa pointed at a small side gate. That is our entry, he said. No explosions, no loud attack. We take their eyes first. Annie's eyes widened. We? She asked. T'Challa turned slightly. If you choose, he said. Annie didn't hesitate. I'm in, she said. MM exhaled. We need Frenchie, he said, and Kimiko, and Huey to move people. T'Challa nodded. Bring those who protect, he said, not those who only hate. MM understood the message. No butcher, he said. Annie glanced away. He won't like that, she said. T'Challa's voice stayed calm. This is not about his anger, he said. This is about the trapped. Annie looked back at the compound. Her eyes hardened with purpose. Then let's get them out, she said. Sister Sage watched the compound feeds from a different building, hands folded, face calm. "Sorry, they'll come," she said. A Vought security head frowned. "We've reinforced the fences," he said. "Extra guards, anti-soup rounds." Sage nodded. "Good," she said. "And where are the cameras aimed?" "At the fence," he said. Sage's eyes narrowed. "Move half of them inward," she said. "Not toward the fence, toward the families." The security head blinked. "Why?" Sage smiled faintly. "Because he'll choose them," she said. "He always will." She leaned forward. "And when he chooses them," she added, "I want his hands full." The night of the rescue, Huey's hands would not stop shaking. He crouched behind a rusted dumpster across from the compound with Frenchie and Kimiko. Annie and were on a different roof. T'Challa was nowhere Huey could see, which somehow made it worse. Frenchie tapped Huey's shoulder. "Do you breathe?" Frenchie whispered. Huey tried. "I am breathing," he whispered back, voice too high. Kimiko glanced at him, then pointed at her own chest and took a slow breath, showing him. Huey copied her. It helped a little. Across the street, a guard yawned and leaned on his rifle. He looked bored, like watching a cage was normal. A tiny click sounded in Huey's ear. MM's voice came through a cheap comm. "Positions," MM said. "No hero stuff, no noise." Annie's voice followed, softer. "Remember, families first." Then a new voice joined, low and steady. "Move when the lights blink," T'Challa said. Huey swallowed. "Copy," he whispered. 2 seconds later, the compound's floodlights flickered once, then again. Then half of them went out. Not smashed, not blown up, just off. Frenchie grinned in the dark. "Ah," he whispered. "Fapahi kills the eyes." Huey looked up. On the far side of the compound, a black shape flowed along the fence line. T'Challa moved like he was part of the shadows, not a man standing in them. His claws slid out and cut a small hole in the mesh fence, so clean the wire barely moved. Kimiko was the first through. She slipped like a silent knife. Frenchie followed, carrying a bag of tools, like it was a backpack for school. Huey went last, heart thumping so loud he was sure guards could hear it. Inside, the compound smelled like bleach and fear. People sat behind another fence inside the fence, huddled under thin blankets. Some looked up, eyes wide. A child clutched a stuffed toy with one ear torn off. Huey's stomach twisted. T'Challa crouched near the inner gate, scanning a keypad. Annie dropped down beside them, the light glowing faintly in her palms. Came behind her, moving like a trained soldier. T'Challa looked at the families, then back at the locks. "No panic," he said softly. "No running. We lead them out like a river. Steady." A man inside the holding area shook his head. "They'll shoot us," he whispered. Leaned close. "Not if you stay low and do what we say," he said. Huey tried to smile at a little girl who stared at his face, like she was trying to decide if he was real. "Hey," he whispered, "we're getting you out, okay?" The girl didn't answer, but she shifted closer to her mother. Frenchie worked fast on the keypad, fingers flying. "They use cheap locks," he muttered. "They trust the cameras." T'Challa's bead blinked. "Movement," he warned. Footsteps approached. 2 guards rounded a corner. Kimiko moved first. She grabbed the first guard's rifle and bent it sideways like it was plastic. The guard's eyes went huge. She hit him once in the chest. He dropped without a loud sound. The second guard raised his weapon. Annie flashed her light into his face, blinding him. Rushed in and knocked him down, pinning him. "Don't scream," hissed. The guard's eyes rolled with fear. He didn't scream. He just shook. Huey stared. The whole thing took 2 seconds. T'Challa didn't look impressed. He looked focused. "Open the gate," he told Frenchie. Frenchie clicked the lock free. The inner gate swung open. The families didn't move at first. They were too scared to believe it. T'Challa stepped closer, lowering himself so he wasn't towering over them. He spoke like he was talking to people who mattered. "We are leaving," he said. "Now. Stay together. Hold hands. If you cannot walk, we will carry you." A woman with tired eyes whispered, "Are you with Vought?" T'Challa's head tilted. "No," he said. That single word, simple and clear, did something to the air, like a knot loosened. People began to stand. A child started crying. The mother hushed him fast, terrified the sound would bring guards. T'Challa held up a hand. "It is okay," he said quietly. "We will cover you." Huey helped an older man to his feet. The man's knees shook. Outside the inner area, a loudspeaker suddenly crackled. "Attention!" a cheerful recorded voice said. "This facility is under threat. Please remain calm. Vought heroes are on the way." Huey froze. "Oh, come on," he whispered. Annie's face hardened. "They tripped an alarm," she said. MM swore under his breath. T'Challa didn't flinch. "Then we move faster," he said. They guided the line toward the cut in the outer fence, and then the lights snapped back on. All of them. Bright. White. Harsh. And every camera on the compound turned inward, aimed right at the families. Huey's blood went cold. Sister Sage's plan was written in the light. T'Challa saw it too. He stepped in front of the line, blocking the main camera angle with his body. A speaker clicked again, this time live. A woman's voice, smooth and clear, filled the yard. "Unlicensed soup," Sister Sage said. "I'm glad you came." T'Challa's eyes narrowed behind his mask. "Who are you?" he demanded. "I'm someone who understands systems," Sage replied. "And you are someone who breaks them." A gate on the far side opened. A team walked in. Not normal guards. Soups. So one had ears covered in small devices and moved like he could hear a heartbeat from a mile away. Another carried a baton that hummed with a low vibration. A third wore a heavy vest with metal plates and a smug grin. And behind them, Vought soldiers raised rifles with special rounds. Annie's hands glowed brighter. "They set us up," she whispered. But T'Challa's voice stayed steady. "Keep the line moving," he told MM. "I will hold them." MM stared at him. "Alone?" he hissed. T'Challa didn't turn his head. "I will not let them touch the families," he said. Huey felt something sharp in his chest. Fear, yes, but also respect that made him want to stand straighter. The soup with the hearing devices smiled. "Found you," he said, voice light. He snapped his fingers. A piercing sound hit the air like a knife made of noise. So Huey screamed and clapped his hands over his ears. People in the line cried out and dropped to their knees. T'Challa's suit flared with purple lines as it absorbed the shock. But the sound wasn't just force, it was pressure. It shook the body from the inside. T'Challa stumbled one step. The baton soup charged, swinging the humming weapon. The hum wasn't normal. It felt like it was meant to mess with the suit's energy flow. T'Challa caught the baton with one hand. The hum screamed louder. T'Challa's arm shook. The suit lights flickered. For the first time, Huey saw the Panther pushed back. Not weak, just facing something designed for him. T'Challa gritted his teeth, then twisted the baton. The soup's wrist bent the wrong way and he howled. T'Challa shoved him down hard. Annie blasted light into the hearing soup's face, from forcing him to step back, hands up. MM yelled at the line, "Move! Move! Now!" Kimiko lifted two children at once and ran them toward the fence hole. Frenchie pulled a woman by the arm, guiding her. Huey forced his legs to work. He helped an older man walk, half carrying him. Behind them, Vought soldiers fired. Not at the families, at T'Challa. The bullets hit his suit like hail. Purple ripples spread and faded. T'Challa didn't fall. He moved forward into the gunfire, using his body as a wall. Then he released a controlled kinetic burst. The shockwave knocked soldiers back like bowling pins. Rifles flew, lights shook, cameras rattled. The hearing soup recovered and snapped his fingers again, sending another sound blade. T'Challa dropped low and rolled, then sprang upward and landed behind him. He struck once, fast and precise, hitting a pressure point at the neck. The hearing soup went limp. The third soup, the one with the heavy vest, laughed. "That all you got?" he shouted. He charged, stronger than a normal man, and tried to tackle T'Challa. T'Challa sidestepped and used the soup's momentum. He grabbed the vest and flipped him over his shoulder, slamming him into the ground so hard the man's teeth clicked. Still, the man tried to get up. T'Challa's claws flashed and sliced the vest straps. The metal plates fell away. The soup's confidence vanished with them. "Stay down," T'Challa said. The soup stayed down. But then a new sound rolled across the yard. A slow clap. Everyone froze for half a second. At the far gate, Homelander hovered just above the ground, smiling like he had all the time in the world. Sister Sage's voice came again. Calm. Some perfect timing, she said. Homelander looked at the families filing out and tilted his head like he was watching ants. "Aw," he said loudly. "You're helping people. How adorable." Huey's heart dropped into his stomach. Annie's face went pale. "No," she whispered. "Not here." MM hissed. "Keep moving. Don't look at him." But people did look. They couldn't help it. They had been trained to look. Homelander's eyes locked on T'Challa. The smile stayed, but the warmth was fake. "You again," Homelander said. "You really like making messes in my city." T'Challa stood between Homelander and the last of the families. His suit was scuffed. The purple lines glowed faintly from absorbed impacts. He looked steady anyway. "This place is a cage," T'Challa said, voice clear. "You keep people like animals." Homelander laughed. "Oh, I don't," he said. "Vought does. I just keep them safe." His eyes flicked to a little boy in the line. The boy stared back, frozen. Homelander's smile sharpened. "Hey kid," he called. "Want to see a real hero?" Annie stepped forward, furious. "Leave them alone." Homelander didn't even glance at her. "Shh," he said, like she was interrupting. T'Challa's voice dropped, dangerous and controlled. "Touch them," he said, "and you prove what you are." Homelander's eyes glowed red. Huey felt like he couldn't breathe. And then, sirens. Not vote sirens. Police. Dozens of cop cars rolled up outside the compound fence, lights flashing. Loudspeakers blared. "This is a restricted zone," an officer shouted. "Step away from the facility." Homelander looked annoyed. "Seriously?" he muttered. Sister Sage's voice came again, still calm. "We have our footage," she said. "Shan't let them go. For now." Homelander's jaw tightened. He didn't like for now. But he liked cameras and control more than he liked chasing in the dark. He lifted up, hovering higher, and called out loud for everyone to hear. "Citizens!" he boomed. "You are being endangered by unlicensed soups and terrorists. Vought will investigate. Vought will protect you." His eyes dropped back to T'Challa. Quietly, only for him, Homelander mouthed 2 words. "Next time." T'Challa didn't answer. He simply turned and helped the last family through the fence hole. They vanished into the night, and the world's cameras captured the part Sage wanted most. A masked stranger leading frightened families away, like a king stealing people from a prison. The story was already being written. 3 days later, the city felt tighter. More checkpoints, more drones, more public safety banners, more fear dressed up as kindness. Vought trucks rolled through neighborhoods handing out safety kits. The kits had bottled water, a cheap flashlight, and a thick stack of forms. Huey stared at the forms when one got shoved into his hands at a corner. It was called Vought Citizen Protection Waiver. He flipped pages. "This is like 20 pages," he whispered. Frenchie peeked over his shoulder and laughed softly. "Ah, yes," he said. "They protect you. By making you sign, you will not blame them when you die." Huey looked at the bottom. There was a line for a signature, and beneath that, in tiny letters, "Failure to sign may limit access to services." Huey felt sick. They're blackmailing people with water. MM took the papers and shoved them in a trash bin. "We're not playing this game," he said. T'Challa stood nearby, watching the street with his mask on. He looked at the trash bin, then at the long line of people waiting for kits. "In my world," he said quietly, "we give water because it is needed." Annie's voice was low. "In this world, they give water because it buys silence." T'Challa's hands clenched once. Then he spoke, calm but firm. "We build a route," he said. "We move families out. We create a sanctuary they cannot easily reach." MM frowned. "Where?" he asked. "They own half the city." T'Challa looked at a map on Annie's phone, then at his own projected grid. "They own what they can watch," he said. "So we go where their eyes are blind." Frenchie perked up. "Old tunnels," he said quickly. "Maintenance lines. Abandoned subway parts. We can move under them." Kimiko nodded once, eyes sharp. Now she liked the idea of moving unseen. Huey swallowed. "How many people can we move?" he asked. T'Challa looked at him. "As many as we can without breaking them," he said. "Slow, steady. Not a stampede." Annie exhaled. "We need supplies," she said. "Food, meds, blankets." Frenchie spread his hands. "Money," he said, like the word tasted bad. T'Challa's head tilted. "Money is your chain," he said again. But this time there was a plan behind it. He tapped his bead. A list of targets appeared in his visor. Vought supply depots, trucks, storage sites. "We do not steal from the poor," he said. "We take what the cage uses." MM nodded. "Hit Vought logistics," he said. "Quiet." Annie looked at T'Challa. "That's actually smart," she said. T'Challa gave a small nod. "It is war," he said. "Just a different kind." That night, T'Challa moved alone. Not because he didn't trust them, because a leader did the hardest part first. He found a Vought supply truck parked behind a fenced warehouse. 2 guards smoked by the back door, bored. T'Challa dropped from the roof above like a silent weight. He tapped both guards on the neck in quick succession. Not a brutal hit, a precise one. They fell asleep before they hit the ground. He cut the fence with claws, opened the truck, and scanned the contents. Medical kits, blankets, water. Boxes labeled with cheery slogans. He also found a folder on a clipboard. More forms. He flipped it open. Distribution compliance checklist. Brand safety. Approved messaging. T'Challa stared at the words like they were a foreign sickness. He took the supplies. Then he took the folder too, because the folder was proof, because paper was a weapon here. He slipped away into the dark, leaving the warehouse quiet and empty. When he returned to the safe house tunnel entrance, Huey and Frenchie were waiting. Frenchie's eyes lit up at the boxes. "Ah, beautiful," he whispered. Huey grabbed a blanket like it was treasure. "This will help," he said. T'Challa handed Huey the folder. Huey frowned and flipped through it. His eyes widened. It's literally a script," he whispered. "It tells them what to say to people." Annie stepped in, reading over his shoulder. Her face twisted. "They're telling staff to call it community care," she said, "while they lock people up." MM nodded grimly. "This is ammo," he said. "The truth kind." Butcher's voice came from the back, like a knife sliding out. "The truth doesn't kill Homelander," he said. Everyone turned. Butcher stood in the doorway of the tunnel, hands in his coat pockets, eyes burning. Huey's heart sank. MM's voice went hard. "You weren't invited," he said. Butcher shrugged. "Yeah, I noticed," he said. "And then I noticed you lot are running around with the world's most helpful murder cat." T'Challa's posture changed slightly, not aggressive. "Ready." Annie stepped forward. "We're doing this without you, Butcher," she said, "because you'll screw it up." Butcher laughed. "I screw it up," he said. "You're the ones playing nice in a meat grinder." His eyes slid to T'Challa. "Tell me, mate," he said. "You think you can save people and still win?" T'Challa didn't take the bait. "You're angry," he said. "That's not the same as being right." Butcher's smile vanished. "And you're noble," he snapped. "One that is not the same as being useful." Huey stepped between them without thinking. His voice shook. "He saved families," Huey said. "He did more in one night than we've managed in weeks." Butcher's eyes flicked to Huey, softer for half a second, then hard again. "Yeah," he said. "And now Vought will come down harder. You think they'll stop because you stole some blankets?" T'Challa's voice was calm. "They will come down harder no matter what," he said. "So we do what is right anyway." Butcher leaned closer, low and deadly. "And when right gets someone killed," he whispered. "When the only way to stop a monster is to become one." T'Challa's eyes narrowed behind the mask. "Then you have already lost," he said. Silence hit the tunnel like a heavy door. Butcher stared at him, breathing through his nose. Then he chuckled, bitter. "You really believe that," he said. "That's your problem." MM stepped in, voice sharp. "Get out," he said. "We don't need your poison." Butcher's smile returned, thin. "You do," he said. "You just don't like the taste." He turned to leave, then paused at the doorway. "Oh," he added. "Homelander's hunting you, by the way. He's not just sending drones. He's asking questions. Real questions." Annie's face tightened. "How do you know?" Butcher winked. "Because I'm good at knowing," he said. "Try not to die, yeah?" He walked out into the dark. Huey's hands trembled. "He's gonna get us killed," he whispered. T'Challa watched the tunnel mouth for a long moment. "No," he said quietly. "He's going to try." Then he turned back to the supplies and the people. "Move the families tonight," he ordered, before the net tightens. They moved them like a quiet river. Not one huge crowd. Small groups, one family at a time. Under streets, through cold tunnels, past broken rails and dripping pipes. Huey led a group with a little boy who kept asking, "Is Homelander coming?" Huey wanted to say, "No, you're safe." He couldn't. So he said the truth he could offer. "We're going to keep moving," he said. "And we're going to stay together." The boy nodded like he was trying to be brave. Kimiko carried a toddler when the toddler's legs gave out. Annie lit the way with soft glow, so no one tripped. MM kept count, kept order, kept panic from turning into chaos. T'Challa walked at the back, watching for tails, listening for drones, reading the city's heartbeat through radio waves. Once, they reached a locked maintenance door. A man in the group pointed at it, panicked. "We can't," he whispered. "It's locked!" Frenchie smiled and pulled out a set of tools. "Locks are only opinions," he whispered. He opened it in 20 seconds. Inside was a forgotten room with old chairs and dusty posters from a long-closed city program. Someone had written on the wall in faded paint, "You matter." Huey stared at it. His throat tightened. Annie looked at T'Challa. "This could be a safe spot," she whispered. T'Challa nodded. "A beginning," he said. "Not enough, but a beginning." Then a sound hit the tunnel, a low hum, not a normal engine, not a normal drone. T'Challa's head snapped up. His bead flashed warning. "Stop," he said. Everyone froze. Above them, through the concrete, something heavy passed overhead. Slow. Annie's eyes widened. "That's not police," she whispered. I clenched his fists. "Vought scanning," he said. T'Challa's voice stayed calm. "Keep them quiet," he ordered. Huey held his breath so hard his lungs hurt. The hum lingered for a moment, then moved on. A minute later, T'Challa exhaled. "Move," he said. They did. But the message was clear. Vought was learning, and Sister Sage was steering the lesson. In her office, Sage watched a map of the city with little dots moving through it. Not people dots, heat dots, sound dots, pattern dots. "Interesting," she murmured again. A Vought engineer pointed at the screen. "We've detected gaps," he said. "Blind spots where our drones lose track." Sage nodded. "He's building routes," she said. The engineer looked proud. "We can close them," he said. Sage raised a finger. "Not yet," she said. "Let him build." The engineer blinked. "So why?" Sage's eyes stayed on the map. "Because routes lead to places," she said. "And places can be raided." She leaned back, calm as a judge. "Also," she added, "I want him to feel hope." The engineer frowned. "Hope?" Sage smiled faintly. "Hope makes people predictable," she said. "Especially good people." The next rescue was bigger. Too big. T'Challa felt it in his bones the moment Annie showed him the message they had received from a frightened nurse. "They've got kids," Annie said, voice tight. "Not just adults. They're moving them tonight. A transfer." Stared at the message. "Where?" he asked. Frenchie traced routes on a map. "Old hospital wing," he said. "Closed after Vought helped." Huey swallowed. "We have to go," he said. T'Challa's eyes hardened. "We go," he agreed. They moved fast. Roof to roof, alley to alley. No lights, no phones. When they reached the old hospital, it looked dead from the outside. Inside, it wasn't dead. It was busy. Vought soldiers moved in clean lines. A few soups stood by, laughing like this was nothing. A truck waited at the back, engine running. Through a window, Huey saw a row of kids sitting on the floor, wrists zip-tied, guarded by a man with a rifle. Huey's stomach turned. "Oh my God," he whispered. T'Challa's voice was low. "No one hurts them," he said. Annie's hands glowed faintly. "We do this quiet," she whispered. Nodded. "In and out," he said. They slipped into the building through a broken side door. The air smelled like old medicine and fresh fear. They moved down a hallway. Then the light snapped on. Everyone. A speaker crackled, and Sister Sage's voice filled the building, sung calm as a lullaby. "Welcome," she said. "King." Huey's blood froze. "She knows," he whispered. T'Challa didn't move, but his posture changed like a blade being drawn. Sage continued. "I've been curious about you. A man who refuses fame, a man who refuses fear, a man who thinks he can build a safe place in a world that eats safe places." Annie whispered. "We have to grab the kids now." T'Challa nodded once. "Go," he said. "I will clear the path." Hesitated. "Don't go," T'Challa repeated, voice firm enough to cut argument. Went. Annie went. Kimiko went like a shadow. Huey ran after them, heart pounding. Frenchie stayed near T'Challa, clutching a small bag. "I do not like this," Frenchie muttered. T'Challa's eyes scanned the hall. Then the trap stepped out. A line of soups and soldiers blocked the corridor ahead. The baton soup from before was there, wrist-wrapped. The hearing soup wasn't. But a new one was. This one had a visor that shimmered. Thermal tracking. He smiled like he knew secrets. Behind them, soldiers raised rifles with special rounds again. And above, through a hole in the ceiling, Homelander hovered, watching through broken tiles like a demon peeking into a dollhouse. T'Challa felt the pressure in the air, not just power. Ego. Homelander grinned. "Hey, kitty cat," he called down. "You picked a bad night to play hero." T'Challa didn't look up. He kept his eyes on the soldiers. "Move," he commanded. The visor soup laughed. "Or what?" he said. T'Challa moved first. He shot forward and hit the first soldier's rifle barrel with a claw, slicing it clean. The soldier stumbled back in shock. T'Challa spun and kicked the second soldier into the wall, knocking him out. The visor soup raised his hand, and a bright pulse flashed from his glove, an energy net that crackled in the air. It wrapped around T'Challa's arms. For a half-second, T'Challa's suit lights flickered. Frenchie shouted, "That is designed for you!" T'Challa gritted his teeth and slammed his feet into the floor. The suit absorbed the net's force, then pushed back. Purple lines surged. The net snapped like brittle wire. T'Challa grabbed the visor soup by the collar and slammed him into a door hard enough to crack wood. The soup dropped, groaning. Soldiers fired again. T'Challa stepped into the shots, absorbing them, using his body as cover so no bullet flew past and hit the kids down the hall. Then the baton soup charged, humming weapon swinging. T'Challa caught it again, but this time the hum changed. It got deeper, meaner. His suit screamed warnings. The vibration was trying to shake energy loose, to confuse the suit's control. T'Challa's arm trembled. Homelander laughed above. "Ah, look," he said. "They made you a chew toy." T'Challa's voice was tight, but controlled. "Frenchie," he said. "Now." Frenchie hurled a small device at the baton. It stuck and beeped once. Then it released a thick foam that swallowed the humming weapon in seconds, smothering the vibration like putting a pillow over a speaker. The baton soup cursed and tried to pull it free. T'Challa used the moment to headbutt him hard. The soup dropped, stars in his eyes. Frenchie grinned. "Foam is underrated," he whispered. But then the air changed. Heat. T'Challa's bead flashed red. Homelander's eyes glowed. "No, okay," Homelander said, tone shifting from playful to sharp. "I'm bored." He dropped lower, landing at the end of the hallway like a wall that could smile. Soldiers and soups stepped back. Even they didn't like being too close to him. Homelander stared at T'Challa. "I'm gonna ask you nicely," he said. "Take off the mask." T'Challa didn't move. Homelander smiled wider. "No," he said. "Fine." His gaze flicked past T'Challa, down the hall, toward the room with the kids. T'Challa stepped forward instantly, blocking the line. "You do that," T'Challa said, voice cold, "and you show the world the truth." Homelander's smile didn't change. "The world loves me," he said. T'Challa's voice stayed steady. "The world loves what it is taught," he replied. "That can change." Homelander tilted his head. "You think you're gonna teach them?" he asked. I'm amused. "With your little claws?" T'Challa said nothing, because words wouldn't stop heat vision. So he did the only thing that mattered. He launched forward, not at Homelander's chest, where it would be useless, but at the ceiling above him. He slammed both hands into a support beam and tore it loose with brutal strength. Concrete and rebar crashed down. Homelander's eyes flared, and he blasted the falling rubble apart in an instant. But that instant was enough. Dust filled the hallway like a thick fog. Not smoke this time. Building dust. Real. Heavy. T'Challa grabbed Frenchie and yanked him sideways into a stairwell. "Move!" T'Challa ordered. They sprinted down and through a side passage that T'Challa had already mapped from earlier scans. Behind them, Homelander's heat vision sliced through walls, chasing the sound, carving straight lines like an angry finger. Plaster exploded. Pipes burst. Water sprayed. T'Challa kept moving, not because he was weaker, because he refused to let a fight turn into a massacre. Ahead, Huey's voice crackled in the comm, panicked. "We've got the kids. We've got them. But there's too many. We need an exit." T'Challa answered, breath steady. "East stairwell," he said. "I cleared it. Take them down." MM's voice snapped in. "Homelander's in the building." Annie's voice followed, strained. "We're moving. We're moving." T'Challa turned a corner and saw them. Annie carried a small girl. Kimiko held 2 kids under her arms like she was carrying grocery bags, but her face was fierce and protective. MM guided a line of children, pushing them low and fast. Huey was at the back, helping a boy who was limping. Huey's eyes met T'Challa's mask. Relief hit him like a wave. "Go," T'Challa commanded. "Down." They ran. Behind them, Homelander burst through a wall like it wasn't there, floating in the dust, eyes burning. "There you are," Homelander said, voice sweet. He saw the kids. His smile twitched. For 1 second, something ugly and honest flashed across his face. Then it was gone, replaced by the same perfect mask. "You're stealing children now?" he called loudly, as if cameras were there. "Wow, that's low." T'Challa stopped in the hallway, turning back. He put himself between Homelander and the fleeing line again. Homelander sighed dramatically. "You're really gonna do this," he said. "Okay, I'll make it simple." His heat vision flared. T'Challa crossed his arms again, suit glowing purple as it absorbed the beam. The floor cracked. The wall shook. The suit held. But the building around them did not. A ceiling panel fell. A pipe burst. Water poured down like rain inside. The kids screamed in the stairwell. Annie shouted, "Keep moving!" T'Challa's suit warning spiked. Not because he would melt, because the building would collapse on everyone. T'Challa made a choice. He slammed his claws into the floor and released a massive kinetic burst. Not outward toward people, but forward, down the hallway, aimed at the structure around Homelander. The shockwave blew open a section of wall and sent debris flying in a controlled blast. It wasn't meant to hurt Homelander. It was meant to force space. Homelander lifted instinctively, annoyed as rubble and water sprayed him. T'Challa used that space to leap backward into the stairwell, then slam a metal door shut behind him. Frenchie slapped a small charge on the door frame. Not explosive, just a locking jam. "Hold," Frenchie whispered. Homelander's voice came through the door, calm and angry at once. "You can't hide," he said. "You can't run forever." T'Challa didn't answer. He ran down the stairs with the others, moving like a shield at the back of the line. They burst out into an alley where a van waited, engine running. Everyone piled in with the children, fast but careful. Huey helped the limping boy into a seat. The boy's eyes were huge. "Is he coming?" he whispered. Huey wanted to promise safety again. This time, he didn't lie. "I don't know," Huey said, "but we're together. Okay?" The boy nodded, shaking. T'Challa stepped into the van last, and as the doors slammed shut, Homelander appeared above the alley like a nightmare finding the exit. He hovered, eyes glowing, about to cut the van in half. Then a spotlight hit him from above. Police helicopters, not Vought. Real city choppers, drawn by the chaos and the screaming calls. Loudspeakers blared. "Step back! Stand down!" Homelander's smile returned instantly, bright and fake. He waved at the helicopters like this was a parade. "Hey," he shouted, "everything's under control." The van peeled away under him, tires screeching. Homelander watched it go, smile frozen. His eyes tracked the darkness where it vanished, and in that quiet look, he made another promise. Not loud, Not for cameras. For himself. He would find the Panther's face, and he would break whatever made that man keep choosing people over pride. The van vanished into the tunnels. The kids were alive. But the war had changed. Now Vought had proof of the rescues. Homelander had felt the suit hold his heat vision again, and Sister Sage had seen exactly what she wanted to see. A good man, carrying hope, with his hands full. 2 weeks after the hospital rescue, the city felt like it had learned a new habit. It watched its own streets like they were enemy ground. More drones, more checkpoints, more posters with smiling faces and warning words. Vought trucks rolled through poor blocks with help kits and cameras. Behind the cameras, men with guns stood like they owned the sidewalk. T'Challa did not stop moving. In the day, he stayed beneath the city. In old tunnels and service rooms, people sat on folding chairs and shared blankets that still smelled like Vought warehouses. Kids drew pictures on scrap paper. Mothers whispered prayers into tired hands, and fathers stared at the floor like their thoughts were too loud. In the night, T'Challa became a shadow again. He learned every crack in the city's eyes. He mapped the drone paths. He placed beads under bridges, inside streetlights, behind billboards that smiled, lies into the rain. He taught the sanctuary routes to MM and Annie in short, clean steps, like drills. Slow, he told them. Steady. No panic. MM listened like a man who had led people out of worse places. He counted heads every time. He memorized names. He didn't pretend he could save everyone. He just refused to stop trying. Annie did what Annie always did. She showed up. She held frightened hands. She powered lights softly in dark tunnels so kids did not trip. She spoke to people like they were real. Huey did not become brave overnight, but he became useful. He carried boxes. He learned which families needed medicine first. He sat with kids who woke up crying and told them simple stories until they fell asleep again. Sometimes he shook so hard his teeth clicked. He did it anyway. Frenchie built small things that mattered. A jammer that made a drone lose its mind for 10 seconds. A lock tool that opened old doors. A foam canister that smothered sound. He kept making jokes about contracts. "They will send paperwork even to the dead," he said once, holding up a waiver found taped to a broken street pole. T'Challa stared at the papers like they were a disease with words. The paper said, Vought Citizen Protection. Waiver. Under that, by remaining in this area, you consent. T'Challa's eyes narrowed. "They make permission into a weapon," he said. Frenchie grinned. "Oui, paper cuts," he said. No, Kimiko didn't laugh, but she took the stack and ripped it in half with a sharp, pleased motion. Then she handed the pieces to a child who used them like confetti. That night, one little girl asked T'Challa, "Are you a real king?" T'Challa crouched, so his eyes were level with hers. "Yes," he said. "Where is your castle?" she asked, serious. T'Challa looked around at concrete walls and old pipes. He could have lied to make it pretty. He didn't. "My castle is far," he said. "For now, this is our shelter." The girl nodded like that was enough. "Okay," she said. "Kings can live anywhere." T'Challa felt something tight in his chest loosen a little. Vought noticed the pattern even if it could not catch the shadow. So, Vought changed the rules. One morning, the news anchor smiled extra hard and announced a new law with a friendly name. "The Hero Compliance and Community Safety Act," she said. "A necessary step to protect families from unlicensed, violent soups and terror groups." Under her smile, a list of punishments scrolled. Unlicensed hero activity was now a major crime. Helping fugitives was now a major crime. Interfering with Vought operations was now a major crime. At the bottom of the screen, a number flashed. A reward. $10 million for information leading to the capture of the Panther terrorist. Huey watched the broadcast from the tunnel room and felt his stomach drop. 10 million, he whispered. Someone's going to sell us. Didn't deny it. Yeah, he said. They will. Annie's hands clenched. They're turning the whole city into a trap, she said. T'Challa stood very still. He watched the anchor's lips shape fear into safety. Then he spoke. A law is only as strong as the people who obey it, he said. Frenchie raised his brows. In this city, he said, many obey because they are hungry. T'Challa nodded once. Then we feed them, he said. Stared. With what money? He asked. T'Challa's voice stayed calm. Not money, he said. Supply. He tapped his bead and projected a map. Small red marks appeared. Vought depots, Vought trucks, Vought storage rooms. We take what they stole, T'Challa said. We move it quietly. We keep people alive. Huey looked at the map and swallowed. That's like a whole war, he said. T'Challa looked at him. It is, he replied. That same night, Butcher came back like a storm returning to the coast. He didn't knock. He stepped into the tunnel room with a grin and a bag over his shoulder, like he owned the place. Stood up so fast his chair scraped. You don't get to. Butcher held up both hands. Relax, he said. I come bearing gifts. Annie's eyes narrowed. What did you do? She asked. Butcher dropped the bag on the table. It clunked heavy. Frenchie leaned in, curious despite himself. What is this? He asked. Butcher unzipped it. Inside were weapons. Not normal ones. Small canisters, vials, and a metal case with a clear label. Temp Phi scratched out and rewritten in marker with a rude joke. Huey's face went pale. No, he whispered. No, no! Butcher's grin widened. Yes, he said. We're done playing hide and seek. We hit the big one. M's voice went low. Put that away, he warned. Butcher looked at T'Challa, like he was daring him to blink. Here's the plan, Butcher said. We lure Homelander somewhere quiet, somewhere we control. We pump him full of something that makes even gods cough blood. Annie's hands glowed faintly, anger rising. You think it's that simple? She snapped. Butcher shrugged. Simple enough, he said. We just needed a distraction strong enough to keep him focused. His eyes slid back to T'Challa's suit. And look what fell out of the sky. Huey felt sick. You're talking about using him, he said. Butcher leaned close to Huey, voice sharp. I'm talking about ending it, he said. All of it. No more camps, no more dead kids, no more fear. One monster gone, the rest scatter. T'Challa didn't move. His mask hid his face, but his voice came out cold and steady. And how many die when you miss? He asked. Butcher scoffed. We don't miss, he said. T'Challa took one step closer. You will, he said, because you think hatred is a plan. Butcher's grin faded into a hard line. And you think honor is armor, he shot back. T'Challa's voice stayed even. Honor is a choice, he said. Armor is metal. Butcher tapped the table. You want to save people? He asked. Then help me kill the thing that eats them. Annie stepped between them. No, she said. Butcher snapped. This isn't your call. Moved too, standing firm. It is our call, he said. And the answer is no. Butcher's eyes flicked around the room. He saw it. The line had been drawn. He looked at T'Challa again. So what then? He asked, voice low. You gonna give him a speech? You gonna ask him to be better? T'Challa didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Cool, we don't become him, T'Challa said. Butcher laughed once, bitter. Then you'll lose, he said. T'Challa's head tilted. Not today, he replied. Butcher stared at him. A small part of him looked tired for half a second. Then he slapped the bag shut. Fine, Butcher said. Do it your way. He pointed at the map on the wall. Just remember, he added, he's not going to stop because you're noble. T'Challa met his stare. Neither will I, he said. Butcher's mouth twitched, like he almost respected that. Then he turned and walked out again, leaving the tunnel with his anger and his tools. Huey exhaled like he'd been underwater. He's going to do it anyway, he whispered. MM's face stayed hard. Yeah, he said, which means we keep him away from the families. T'Challa looked at the tunnel ceiling, as if he could see the city through concrete. And we end this in a way that cannot be undone, he said. Annie blinked. What do you mean? She asked. T'Challa turned to the folder of vote scripts and checklists they had stolen. He laid it on the table like it was a weapon. We kill the lie, he said, not just the man. 2 days later, a message arrived in the strangest way. A small Vout drone drifted down into an empty alley and dropped a white envelope like it was delivering pizza. T'Challa caught it before it hit the ground. On the front, in clean black print, was one sentence. Meet me. If you want your people to stop being hunted. Inside was a card with an address and a time. No name. But T'Challa knew the hand behind it. Sister Sage. Annie saw the card and shook her head. It's a trap, she said. MM nodded. It's always a trap, he said. T'Challa's voice was calm. Yes, he said. But traps can be used. Frenchie frowned. You will go? He asked. I will, T'Challa said. Annie stepped forward. Then we go with you, she said. T'Challa looked at her. No, he said. Too many targets. Annie's eyes flashed. You think I'm weak? She snapped. T'Challa's voice softened just a fraction. I think you are needed, he said. Here. MM added. We can't risk losing you both, he said. Not now. Annie's jaw clenched, but she nodded, angry at the truth. T'Challa looked at Huey. You will keep them moving, he said. Huey swallowed. Yeah, he said. Yeah, okay. T'Challa turned back to the card. He did not say he felt the weight in his chest. He did. A king did not like being pulled by another person's string. But if the string led to stopping raids, he would follow it. He wore his mask. He left. The meeting place was a clean room in a quiet building that used to be a bank. No music, no crowds, just bright lights, glass walls, and the smell of air that had been filtered too much. Sister Sage sat at a table with a single cup of water. She looked calm, like danger was something she solved on paper. 2 guards stood by the door. Not supes, just men with guns and no imagination. Sage didn't stand when T'Challa entered. She didn't smile. I'm glad you came, she said. T'Challa stayed near the doorway. Speak, he said. Sage nodded once, like she respected directness. You are building roots, she said. Shelters, a little underground country. T'Challa's claws didn't come out, but his voice sharpened. You followed families, he said. You used children as bait. Sage's face didn't change. I used reality, she said. This world runs on leverage. T'Challa stepped forward 1 pace. And you think that makes you wise, he said. Sage leaned back. I know it makes me effective, she replied. She slid a folder across the table. On top was a printed contract. Vought Hero Partnership Agreement. T'Challa didn't touch it. Sage kept speaking. Here's my offer, she said. You register. You become official. You stand beside Homelander on camera. You say the words. You wear the brand. T'Challa's voice was flat. No, he said. Sage didn't blink. Let me finish, she said. She tapped the folder. In return, Vought stops hunting the families you've moved. We release the people in the care centers quietly. We put your sanctuary under corporate protection. We give you funding, such supplies, medical care. T'Challa stared at her. For 1 second, he saw the trap's teeth. Corporate protection, he repeated. Sage nodded. Yes, she said. A fence with a logo, the kind that works here. T'Challa's voice went colder. And when I obey, he said, you take my suit. You take my mind. You copy my tools. You build a better cage. Sage's eyes narrowed slightly. You are smart, she said. That's why I'm speaking to you and not shooting you. T'Challa stepped closer to the table, gaze fixed. You could have done this without me, he said. If you truly wanted peace. Sage's voice stayed calm. Peace is not the product, she said. Control is. T'Challa's hands clenched once. Then you are not offering peace, he said. You are offering a slower death. Sage watched him. You can't win, she said simply. Not against the system, not against Homelander. You can only choose the shape of your loss. T'Challa's voice dropped, steady like stone. Then you don't understand kings, he said. He turned to leave. Sage spoke again, quiet but sharp. If you walk out, she said, the raids start tonight. We already have addresses. We already have faces. T'Challa stopped, not because fear grabbed him, because the thought of children dragged back into cages made his blood burn. He didn't turn around. If you harm them, he said, your world will learn what you truly are. Sage's tone was almost curious. And how will you teach them, she asked. With claws? With speeches? With stolen blankets? T'Challa finally looked back. He walked to the table. He didn't take the contract. He took the cup of water. He lifted it, then poured it onto the contract slowly, soaking the paper until the ink ran. Sage's eyes flicked down for the first time, annoyed. T'Challa set the empty cup down. Paper is weak, he said. Truth is not. Then he tapped a bead on his wrist. A tiny device, too small to notice, slipped off his glove and stuck beneath the table. A Wakandan listener. Sage noticed the motion, but too late to understand it. T'Challa walked out. The guards didn't stop him. They had been told not to. A trap didn't snap too early. Outside in the alley, T'Challa's suit fed him a clean signal. Audio, video, files being copied from a nearby server he had brushed with a second beat on his way in. Names, locations, schedules, proof of care center transfers, proof of waiver threats, proof of orders that said, do not engage with unlicensed heroes. Label them terrorists. Sage wanted his suit. T'Challa would take her system apart with the one thing she forgot to respect, the people's eyes. That night, Vought prepared a massive broadcast, a stage in a plaza, big flags, big lights, big smiles. Homelander stood in the center like a statue built to be worshipped. Sister Sage stood behind him, calm, hands folded. The anchor introduced the Hero Compliance Act again. She spoke about safety. She spoke about threats. She spoke about the Panther. Then Homelander lifted a hand, and the crowd screamed. My fellow Americans, he said, voice warm. I promise you, we will keep you safe. T'Challa watched from a rooftop across the plaza, with a small transmitter in his hand. Annie crouched beside him, hood up, face hard. M.M. was with them too, eyes scanning for sniper angles. Down in the streets, Huey and Frenchie guided the last group of families into tunnel access points. Kimiko moved with them, silent and fast. They had one shot to do two things at once, move people and break the lie. T'Challa's device hummed softly. It linked to every screen it could reach. Not just the plaza screens, store screens, train station screens, phones connected to public feeds. Anything Vought used to talk. Annie whispered, if this works, they can't unsee it. M.M. muttered, if it works, they'll come for us hard. T'Challa nodded once. Yes, he said. So we do it clean. On stage, Homelander smiled bigger. There are people out there, he said, Who want to hurt you? Unlicensed supes. Terrorists. People who don't believe in the law. Sage glanced toward the camera like she was checking angles. T'Challa pressed the transmitter. The plaza screens blinked. Homelander's face froze mid-smile. Then the screens changed. Not to T'Challa. Not to a logo. To Vought documents, checklists, scripts. A line that said, "Use community care language. Do not mention detention." Then footage. The camp. Families behind fences. Kids zip-tied in the hospital. A guard saying, "Clear as day. Sign the waiver or you don't get water." A Vought worker whispering, "We can't help you without the forms." The crowd's cheering turned into confused murmurs. Homelander's smile twitched. Sage's eyes narrowed, her calm cracked by a hair. On the screens, one more clip played. Not the edited fight. The full angle. Homelander aiming heat vision at the bus. His voice, low and private, caught by a hidden mic. "Move, or I show them what brave buys." The plaza went quiet. It was not a nice quiet. It was the kind that makes people realize they've been clapping for the wrong thing. Homelander's head turned slowly toward the screens. His eyes flared red. Sage stepped closer to him, speaking under her breath. "Smile," she hissed. "Smile right now." Homelander smiled, but his eyes didn't match. In the crowd, someone yelled, "Is that real?" Another voice shouted, "That's fake! That's a deep fake!" People argued instantly, like the truth was a hot object they didn't want to hold. T'Challa didn't expect instant victory. He wasn't a child. But he saw something important. A crack. Homelander lifted his hands. "Everyone, calm down," he said, voice louder, warmer, practiced. "This is an attack. This is—" Every screen changed again. Now it was a simple message, white letters on black. "If you want to be safe, stop letting monsters wear capes." Under it, a map flashed for 1 second. Not a route, not a tunnel. A list of Vought care centers, locations, names, proof that could be checked. Then the feed cut out. Vought slammed control back. The plaza screen snapped to Homelander's face again, smiling and shining. But the quiet didn't fully leave. It lingered in the crowd like a smell. Homelander's eyes scanned the rooftops. He found the shadow shape across the plaza. He rose into the air, and he shot forward like a missile. "Go," T'Challa told Annie and MM. "Now." Annie grabbed his arm. "You're coming," she said. T'Challa shook his head once. "They need you," he said. MM cursed softly. "Don't do hero martyr stuff," he warned. T'Challa's voice was steady. "I am not dying," he said. He stepped back as Homelander slammed onto the rooftop, cracking concrete. Homelander stood inches away, smiling too wide. "You," he whispered. T'Challa didn't flinch. "They saw," he said. Homelander's smile trembled. "Some saw," he said. "Some will forget. They always forget." His eyes glowed brighter. "But you," he said, voice dropping. "I won't forget." He lunged. T'Challa moved first, not into the punch, but sideways, leading Homelander away from the roof edge where falling debris could hit the crowd. Homelander grabbed for him, fingers like steel. T'Challa let himself be caught for half a second, then released a burst of stored energy at point-blank range. Purple light flashed. Homelander's grip loosened again, just enough. T'Challa slipped free and sprinted across the rooftop. Homelander followed, faster, angrier. Heat vision cut across the roof, slicing vents and metal rails. Sparks flew. T'Challa dove behind a thick concrete support, letting the beam hit it instead of the open air. The support cracked. T'Challa's suit beeped warnings. Not about him, about the building. He glanced down. The plaza was still below. People were still there. Confused, scared, arguing. Homelander didn't care. He stepped forward, eyes glowing like he could burn the city just to feel in control. T'Challa made a choice fast. He threw 3 beads in a spread pattern. They stuck to the roof around Homelander. Homelander sneered. "What are those? Toys?" T'Challa didn't answer. He triggered them. A hard sonic pulse hit the rooftop. Not strong enough to hurt civilians below. Strong enough to scramble drones and make Homelander's balance shift for one breath. Homelander's head jerked. His vision wavered. T'Challa used that breath to slam both claws into the roof and rip a long strip of metal reinforcement free. He swung it like a lever, not to hit Homelander, but to break the roof edge supports at an angle. The rooftop section between them sagged. Homelander floated instantly, annoyed, but the sagging roof created a barrier, a gap of open air between them. T'Challa jumped backward, landing on a lower roof, then another, moving down the building like a controlled fall. Homelander hovered above, furious, and started to follow. Then police helicopters swept in again, drawn by the broadcast chaos and the crowd's rising panic. Spotlights hit Homelander. Cameras caught him mid-hunt. Homelander froze for half a second in the air, not because he was scared of helicopters, because he knew what it looked like. A hero chasing a masked man right after leaked footage of threats. He forced a smile, turned toward the helicopters, and waved. "Everything's fine," he shouted. That tiny pause saved lives, because T'Challa used it to vanish into the city's shadows again. He didn't run to hide. He ran to lead Homelander away from the tunnels, away from the families. By the time Homelander looked down again, T'Challa was gone. Homelander's smile dropped the moment the cameras weren't close enough to read his face. His jaw clenched. Sage's voice crackled in his earpiece. "Stand down," she said. Tight. "Let the story settle." Homelander didn't answer. He hovered above the city like a storm that wanted permission to strike. Then, slowly, he turned and flew back toward the plaza, forcing the mask back onto his face. But the crack was there now, and cracks spread. 3 days later, a woman in the sanctuary held up her phone with shaking hands. "It's everywhere," she whispered. On the screen were reposts of the leaked documents, people arguing, people denying, people believing. A few brave reporters asking questions out loud. Vought called it a fake. Vought threatened lawsuits. Vought announced investigations that would find the criminals behind the misinformation. And still, the files kept spreading. Not enough to bring Vought down, not enough to arrest Homelander, but enough to make some people stop clapping so fast. Enough to make fear share space with doubt. Enough to give the underground a little more room to breathe. Em watched the sanctuary room and exhaled slowly. "We bought time," he said. Annie nodded, eyes tired. "We bought people a chance to see," she said. Huey looked at T'Challa. "Is that winning?" he asked softly. T'Challa stood in the corner, mask off, face calm but worn. "It is a step," he said, "in a long road." Frenchie held up another stack of Vought forms, found taped to a street pole near a safety station. He shook them like a joke. "They still send paper," he said. Kimiko snatched the forms and shoved them into a small barrel where they burned for warmth. The kids laughed at the flying ashes. T'Challa watched the fire and felt something settle inside him. This world did not give you clean victories, but it did give you choices. And he had chosen. Not Vought. Not Butcher's scorched earth. Not Homelander's throne of fear. He chose the people in the dark. He chose the slow work. He chose to stay. Night fell again, as it always did. T'Challa stood on a rooftop alone. The city spread out like a map of problems and lives. Sirens wailed far away. A Vought drone buzzed in the distance, not close enough to see him. He held a small Wakandan bead in his palm, turning it slowly. He had tried to call home every night. No answer. He still tried. He tapped the bead and spoke into it, voice quiet. "Shuri," he said, "if you can hear this, I am alive." He paused. "I am not in our world," he continued. "I don't know if I will return." The words tasted heavy. He looked down at the streets where people hurried under signs that promised safety for a price. "This world has power," he said, "but it is owned by fear. They worship a false protector. They sell hope like a product." He breathed in, slow. "I have met people who still fight," he said. "Not perfect people, not clean, but real. They remind me that courage can live even in dirt." A faint smile touched his face for a second, then faded. "I will protect the innocent here as long as I can," he said. "Not because it is easy, because it is right." He stopped the recording. He knew it might never reach Wakanda. Still, speaking it made it real. Behind him, footsteps approached. T'Challa turned, quiet and ready. Annie stepped onto the roof, hands in her jacket pockets. Her hair moved in the wind. Her face looked tired, but steadier than before. "I figured you'd be up here," she said. T'Challa nodded once. "The city is loud," he said. "The roof is quieter." Annie walked to the edge and looked out. "People are talking," she said. "Some are scared. Some are angry. Some are pretending it's fake so they can sleep." T'Challa's voice stayed calm. "That is normal," he said. "Our truth is heavy." Annie glanced at him. "You could have left," she said. "You could have vanished and saved yourself." T'Challa looked at the streets again. "A king does not abandon people in a burning house," he said. Annie huffed a small laugh. "Yeah," she said. "Well, this whole country is basically a burning house." T'Challa's mouth curved slightly. "Then we keep carrying water," he said. Annie leaned on the ledge, quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Homelander's going to come for you again." T'Challa nodded. "I know," he said. "Are you scared?" Annie asked. Simple. T'Challa didn't pretend. He answered like a man, not a statue. "I respect danger," he said, "but fear does not lead me." Annie looked down. "I wish I could say that," she admitted. T'Challa turned to her. "You are still here," he said. "That is courage." Below them, like in an alley near a Vault safety station, a worker taped up fresh waivers on a public board. Bright paper in the dark. Annie noticed and groaned. "Oh my God," she muttered. "More forms." T'Challa watched the papers flutter. Then, without a word, he dropped off the roof. Annie blinked. "Wait, T'Challa!" He landed softly, walked to the board, and tore the forms down in one clean pull. He didn't throw them away. He carried them back to the alley barrel fire, where the sanctuary crew warmed their hands at night. He fed the papers to the flames. The fire caught fast. The words curled and blackened and vanished. A small boy nearby clapped once, like it was magic. T'Challa looked at him and gave a tiny nod. Then he stepped back into the shadows, mask on again, becoming the quiet shape the city could not buy. Above, the rooftop lights flickered against the rain. And somewhere far away, in a tower of glass, a man with a perfect smile stared at a torn piece of cloth in his hand and hated the fact that the world had seen a crack. Life in this universe kept going, but it went differently now. Because a king without a throne had decided the streets were still worth protecting.